Oh my god, hey!
Hello!
Welcome back to my theatre-themed YouTube channel. My name is Mickey Joe.
And I'm Aaron James.
My stagey fiancé.
Yeah.
Yay, still with the creaky chair. I can't.
How does that happen so quickly?
I don't know, all I do is sit on it and talk about musicals. It's
like
not
to-
under strain.
But you like to spin around.
Only sometimes. We are here to talk about the upcoming 2024 Olivier Awards, celebrating the best of the last year of West End theatre.
Yeah.
Right? Or at least the shows that they've decided to nominate.
Well, the ones that are in the running to win.
It's a matter of opinion,
Yeah.
and that's exactly why we're here today, because we are going to each predict who we think is going to win most of the categories at the Olivier Awards.
And we're doing it slightly different than last time. Before we've done like a who should and who will. This time we're kind of just going to do like a will, but we might mention if there's somebody
We're
that
going
we
to
feel
talk
like
through the
deserves
categories,
or-
but like, should is a hard thing to say this year with certainty, because there's so much talent, and it's a hell of a year.
So many shows, and so many new musicals from Britain and from America. Often we don't get to see so many kind of big UK shows compete that originated here in the musical categories.
All you need to do is look at the shows, the individuals, the creatives who were snubbed and shut out of nominations in many categories to see what an incredibly rich and competitive year it was. And if you'd like to know more about those, you can go and watch a video I made here a little while ago about all of the performers and shows and creatives who were snubbed at the Oliviers this year. But today, we're going to predict some winners, because the Olivier Awards are nearly upon us. I have no idea when you're watching this video, because I don't know when I'm posting this video, but they're happening on Sunday.
This weekend.
Yeah, and by the time they're happening, we will be there, and I will hopefully fit into the suit that I plan to wear. Now, if you enjoy today's video, make sure to subscribe to my channel. We're going to post another video post-Olivier Awards to talk through, and we'll find out which of us won, basically, by guessing more correct things. Do you remember? I think I won by 1 point last year.
You won by 1 point.
So I am the reigning champion, and also we are joined today, we're very lucky to be joined by some of this year's nominees and previous winners. How lucky we are. So, Aaron James, do you want to tell us what the first category is going to be?
So the first category is going to be Best Actor in a Musical. So it's between David Cumming for Operation Mincemeat, Tom Francis for Sunset Boulevard, Daniel Mays for Guys and Dolls, and Charlie Stemp for Crazy for You.
This is a very challenging category already, and I've been saying for a while, this is the category of the year, because not every year do I say this, but men really pulled it out of the bag this year.
Yeah.
Like, good job, men. Men really did the thing.
But then even then, you were saying that for also people that then didn't get nominations.
Oh yeah. I mean, we can talk about Kyle Ramar Freeman, we can talk about Gabriel Vick. To my mind, there is a clear winner who will and should win.
Yep. I thought the same.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Charlie Stemp.
It's Charlie Stemp. It's Charlie Stemp's year, everybody.
I mean, when you look back at the performances he's been nominated for, and you kind of say, what more does he have to do to win?
Yeah. You had that, he was nominated for the first time for Half a Sixpence, which was this whole, like, A Star is Born, catapulting him to the spotlight, basically, and then he was nominated again for Mary Poppins, which was like, oh my gosh, the things he does on that stage, so much talent, and now with Crazy for You, it's like the culmination of both of those things together. It's this really star-making role that solidifies him as this, like, really fantastic West End star that shows an abundance of talent on stage and showcases all the things that he can do really well. The dancing, the comedy, the charisma, all of it. It has to be Charlie Stemp. If there is likely to be an upset, who is it, and why is it Tom Francis for Sunset Boulevard?
Yeah, I think he had that moment that everybody talks about. I mean, when you look at awards, sometimes you think there's the moment that everybody talks about, and with him performing Sunset Boulevard, Outside and Round was like one of the big moments of the year.
Walking around that theatre, singing that song.
And sometimes people love to give a sweep across the board for a show.
This is the thing, is like, we can predict in each individual category, but Sunset Boulevard could just pull a cabaret and take every single acting category. So our next category is Best Leading Actress in a Musical. It doesn't say leading, but I've changed the name of the category because I just have. We have Natasha Hodgson for Operation Mincemeat, Casey Levy for Next to Normal, Nicole Scherzinger for Sunset Boulevard, and Marisha Wallace for Guys and Dolls.
I mean, I feel like it's Nicole Scherzinger's to lose. I think pre her performance, it was a lot more up in the air, and then the second that show opened and everybody was wowed by what she did, it just feels like...
It feels like a
just feels
foregone
like it.
conclusion. If we're talking about Sunset possibly sweeping all the acting categories,
this
it's
is
a
almost
given that
guaranteed.
Nicole is definitely going to win.
And now with Broadway announced like that she's going there, and I think she was nominated before for Cats, so we know that the Olivier Awards really like Nicole.
Yeah.
So it kind of feels like this is the bestowing of you are a phenomenal theatre performer.
Yeah. What's interesting, and this is a little off topic, but they recently announced which shows are going to be performing at the ceremony, and it's all of the new musicals and 3 out of 4 of the revivals.
Yeah.
Because allegedly Sunset Boulevard is not confirmed to be performing. Surely Nicole is going to do one of those big songs, but apparently not.
No.
And like they had her chatting at the big night of musicals on TV, but she didn't perform there either.
No,
so
it's interesting that so far she's never publicly performed any of the songs outside of a show.
maybe they're saving it for the Tonys.
If it went to somebody else, it would be Marisha.
I think it would. I think Marisha is the most likely
Yeah.
runner-up. But if we want to have a conversation about who else is worthy of it alongside Nicole, I think while, you know, she blew me away, Casey Levy broke my heart in different ways. And, you know, it's very inverse performances because for all of the grandeur and the stratospheric power that Nicole had, Casey did something very different with nuance and with subtlety.
And Natasha Hodgson.
How fun would a Natasha Hodgson
Yeah.
upset be? That would be great.
If everybody kind of split the votes, who knows, it could go to Mincemeat.
Anything could happen.
And the next category is for Best New Entertainment or Comedy Play.
Ooh, what a weird category this is. Talk
Yeah.
us through the incredibly disparate nominees.
Accidental Death of an Anarchist. We have Stephen Sondheim's Old Friends.
A musical review.
We have Stranger Things for First Shadow.
A play.
And we have Vardy versus Rooney for Agatha Christie Trial.
The Ghost of Sondheim could upset this one, but I feel like it's going to be Stranger Things.
I think Stranger Things has been put there for
Yeah.
the award, and I feel like people have been won over by the spectacle and what they've managed to do on stage. I think New York probably has more of an affinity to giving an award for a Sondheim show because of his passing more than the UK does. When we look at like past ones like My Neighbor Totoro last year, it kind of, I feel like the spectacle sometimes wins in these categories.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to consider. It's such a weird category.
You're not comparing similar things.
No, you don't know what they're going on. How do you weigh Stephen Sondheim's Old Friends against Stranger Things?
Yeah.
The First Shadow. It's this wild category. And I do think there is still the chance that Old Friends could take it, but Stranger Things feels like the front runner.
Yeah.
So thus far, we are entirely in agreement.
Literally.
How incredibly unexciting.
I know.
Which category is next? Ooh! Next we have the Gillian Lynn Award for Best Theatre Choreographer. And the nominees are Fabian Aloise for Sunset Boulevard, Ellen Kane and Hannes Langolf for Dear England, Arlene Phillips with James Cousins for Guys and Dolls, Mark Smith for The Little Big Things, and Susan Stroman for Crazy for You. Oh, I have to think about this one a little bit.
So my instant reaction when this was first announced was that it would be Arlene. The choreography being part of this immersive production and how they managed to do so much choreo when there are so many humans that are not performers in that space.
I think I'm leaning Arlene just because though Sunset I think will have a very strong night, and I think Fabian's work was wonderful in Sunset Boulevard, the choreography was very much not at the forefront of that show and of that show's like narrative and its reputation. Interesting that we're not saying Susan Stroman for some of the best dance. Is it just because it wasn't all new choreography? Is that why we're being perhaps a little too readily dismissive?
Maybe. Yeah.
Like the dancing Crazy for You brought euphoric joy, and that's, you know, when you're watching something that has that effect.
The more I think about the Little Big Things now, not only does the choreography include BSL, but how it also is somebody choreographing for wheelchair using performers as well as a range of disabilities and able-bodied performers. I think sometimes when talking about choreography, sometimes it's not the most amount of choreography, but the fact that they've made it so it's possible for people to do.
Do you know what? You're so right, because when I talk about like who I think deserves, and I'll say this later, for like best new musical and best new play, I always talk about who's pushing the medium forwards. And much as I loved Crazy for You, it's doing classic beautifully. But Little Big Things, in terms of the innovation, in terms of this sort of contemporary sensibility, I think you're very right. That's a very good point. But I don't know that it will win.
In the same sense, Arlene doing that amount of choreo in an immersive space.
Yeah.
We haven't really seen, like, even with The Bridge, they've never done this much choreo that close to public.
It's true. It's
audience
true.
members, and it's
the number of times I have nearly been kicked in the face, but not. Final answer, who do you predict will win on the night? 3, 2, 1... Guys and Dolls. There we go. We are still in agreement. This is why we're close.
The Mithridate Award for Best Costume Design.
Is that new this year?
I know, I've never noticed it being called that before.
Mithridate.
So the nominations are for Bunny Christie and Deborah Andrews for Guys and Dolls at the Bridge, Ryan Dawson-Late for La Cage aux Folles at Regent's Park, Hugh Durant for Peter Pan at the London Palladium, and Marg Horwell for The Picture of Dorian Gray at Theatre Royal Haymarket.
Do you know, I'm not really... And they're all beautiful. Beautiful work in all of the above. I don't know that I'm particular... This is one where I think just like a very worthy nominee will win, because I think Guys and Dolls is the closest this category has to a juggernaut.
I feel like drag costumes, and thinking back to La Cage, I wonder if that was something that stuck with people the most.
I don't know, because I think what La Cage did, Peter Pan did on a grander, more theatrical level. But I think people expect that from the Palladium Panto at this point. So
I think it's had those nominations year after year now. It kind of feels a given that the Palladium Panto will get a nomination, maybe not.
Yeah, but I don't know that La Cage did anything in their drag costuming that Palladium Panto wasn't doing 300%.
Yeah.
I do also really enjoy the costume design in Dorian Gray. I wonder if my perspective on that is being affected at all by how many of the costumes you only see in pre-recorded footage.
How much is worn on stage compared to how much is shown.
Yeah, but then like the same work is still...
It's still all part of that production.
It's interesting how it's changing my mindset, I think.
It's interesting because when I think about Guys and Dolls, in some elements I'm like, oh, it all feels very typical of Guys and Dolls and past productions and movement. But then I think of the Hotbox costumes, and then I think actually, like, it was really cool. And
lovely gangster tailoring throughout.
Yeah, so it's kind of one where I'm like, even though it's new costuming for Guys and Dolls, it doesn't feel that far away from
this is Guys and Dolls taken in new aesthetic directions, and the costuming had to reflect that.
Yeah.
When you think of like the Havana hot pants in the Havana gay bar,
yeah,
hello, that's an Olivier Award right there. 3, 2, 1, Guys and Dolls. Still in agreement.
See, I nearly went for La Cage, but you kind of swayed me there.
If I was going to deviate, I think it might be to Dorian Gray. I don't know if Peter Pan and La Cage are cancelling each other out. If I'm going in as a voter, I'm weighing those two around and around, and they're kind of locked in this eternal spin cycle, and I'm going to end up going in one of the other two directions. That's just me. So the next category is the Cunard Best Revival. Of a play. It means of a play, but the Oliviers don't want to say that for baffling reasons. We have The Effect by Lucy Prebble at the National Theatre, Macbeth by William Shakespeare at the Donmar Warehouse, Shirley Valentine by Willie Russell at the Duke of York's Theatre, and Vanya by Anton Chekhov, adapted by Simon Stevens at the Duke of York's Theatre. So full disclosure, we only saw one of these.
Yes.
Through only fault of our own. Like, there's no good reason we didn't see Vanya.
I think this was a big issue with some of these, is that we just weren't here when they opened.
Yeah.
Or we were elsewhere at the time.
Yeah. So we saw Shirley Valentine.
Yeah.
That's the one that we did see. But then it's difficult because Sheridan Smith is also nominated for her fantastic performance in Shirley Valentine, and it's kind of, that is the show. Because it's a one-woman show. I mean, you could say the same for Andrew Scott in Vanya, I suppose. So does that sort of minimise the two? It's interesting because I don't think any in this category got sensational reviews. Perhaps it was just a quieter year for play revivals. Almost all of these got mixed critical response.
I mean, I think a difference between Vanya and Shirley Valentine is Shirley Valentine stayed quite close to, like, it didn't
That's what Shirley
necessarily change.
Valentine has always been.
Whereas Vanya was a one person, was Andrew Scott doing everybody in Vanya.
I always think this is not best production that happens to be a revival. This is best revival. So who revived the text and did something new with it, the best. So to that extent, though I didn't see it, I think Vanya should win.
And I think it's one of the shows of the year that I've heard mentioned the most.
Doesn't mean I necessarily think it will, although it got that National Theatre live screening, so more people got the chance to see it, and Macbeth was at the Donmar, so
The Effect
fewer
went
people.
to America,
Yeah.
but then I don't know if that was made that clear here, that it had that success to go off Broadway. Don't know.
Well, I think we've talked each other into coming to the same conclusion again, but on 3, 1, 2, 3, Vanya.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Vanya.
So, best musical revival.
Ooh.
It is between Groundhog Day, Guys and Dolls, Hadestown, and Sunset Boulevard.
We could fall out over this one because, I mean, we've spent basically the entire year talking about this category and how it might look.
And
you think Groundhog Day belongs here.
Yes.
And what are your thoughts on Hadestown in this category?
I think it's respecting the fact that it was at the National.
Yeah.
It's a different version, but then at the same time it does echo that version. So I'm like, if it was eligible one time before, you can't then lie and say it wasn't eligible that time if it was.
I agree.
If they hadn't have made it eligible when it was at the National, then this could have been its first run.
When the other two in this category are Guys and Dolls and Sunset Boulevard that are complete reinventions, it makes it a category of two halves, where two of these shows are basically those same shows that they were the first time around, and two are completely new. And it's also kind of moot, because Hadestown and Groundhog Day aren't going to win this.
No. It's always been a race between Guys and Dolls and Sunset Boulevard. And looking at how the awards have gone up to this point...
You're not ready to call it for Sunset Boulevard, are you?
I don't think it is. Because Sunset Boulevard has lost 3 times already to Guys and Dolls.
Uh-huh.
And that's where I think Guys and Dolls is going to beat Sunset Boulevard. Because I think Sunset Boulevard could win in director and lead actress.
Okay.
Because even the What's on Stage award went to Guys and Dolls, and that was public voting.
Mm-hmm. What's on Stage, Evening Standard Awards...
Yeah. And the Critics' Circle.
And the Critics' Circle.
All went for Guys and Dolls over Sunset Boulevard, and they both were eligible. I'm going to predict it's Guys and Dolls.
And I will stay with Sunset Boulevard. I think it is a juggernaut coming into this. I think it's the show that everyone talked about. And Guys and Dolls had a similar level of conversation, but not to the same extent. I haven't seen everyone, and Sunset Boulevard was a limited run, so this is more symptomatic of that perhaps, but I didn't see everyone saying, oh, now we must go see Guys and Dolls, like, oh, I've had, like, everyone has to go and see Guys and Dolls because everyone's talking about it, and Sunset Boulevard had that. I also think among the industry, among producers, it hit a little bit harder. Guys and Dolls perhaps with the public, Guys and Dolls perhaps with the critics even, but I still think Sunset Boulevard is going to take Best Revival of a Musical, and Guys and Dolls did this incredible immersive thing with its staging, but in terms of what that show was and what it became with Sunset Boulevard, what a transformation. You said it now. I've locked you in.
No, I still think it's Guys and Dolls.
And I think it's Sunset Boulevard. We have our first major disagreement, and in a big category. Normally we only split on, like, the creative things.
I think everybody with Sunset Boulevard spoke about Nicole. As a production as a whole, everybody spoke about Guys and Dolls.
You're convincing me now.
Best revival, and this is why I think so far in every single other category, Guys and Dolls has won it, because it's the production you talk about.
Next category, we have Outstanding Musical Contribution. So this is the weird category that is always a little bit different every year.
I wish the wording was different.
I mean, the wording changes annually, so...
Because it's like, it's really exciting.
Put it out into the universe, say what you want it to be called, and next year maybe it will.
Because it's really exciting, like, that we're seeing musical supervisors and arrangers and all of this element and
absolutely
MDs.
Deserving of recognition.
And like for arrangements. But if you don't have a category for score, then this becomes it's
moot.
Yeah, and it kind of gets a reaction because you're like, no original score category?
Yeah, and British musical theatre composers, lyricists are maligned enough, but the nominees are Tom Brady for musical supervision and arrangements and Charlie Rosen for orchestration for Guys and Dolls at the Bridge Theatre. Mm-hmm. Matt Brind for musical supervision, arrangements and orchestrations for Just for One Day at the Old Vic. Steve Sidwell for orchestrations and Joe Bunker for musical direction for Operation Mincemeat at the Fortune Theatre. And Alan Williams for musical supervision and musical direction for Sunset Boulevard at the Savoy.
This was one I thought about.
Uh-huh.
I think it should be Just for One Day.
I think it should be Just for One Day.
Because
I know I agree with that should completely. For what this category actually is, which is not an original score.
The arrangements and everything about how they've made that music work theatrically.
Yeah.
From harmonics to the band arrangement to making SOS dramatic.
I'll send an SOS
Like,
to the world.
Actually watching it, I was like, they've done such a good job in making this really, like, deep and a bit foreboding, whereas really that's not the vibes of the song as much.
Yeah, and you've been loving that arrangement of My Generation.
I just think they've done a really good job of like giving
That's been played a lot in my flat recently.
Yeah, I think they've done a really good job at making music that everybody knows and love, flipping it to make it work for the musical.
Yeah, I wish I agreed with you, because it would be lovely to see an Olivier Awards where shows that don't have that many nominations can win in the deserving categories, but more often than not, the momentum of a bigger show just takes a lot of those categories on its way. We've seen this happen with Cursed Child in the past. We've seen this happen with a handful of other shows.
Hamilton.
Yeah, I am going to go Sunset Boulevard.
And I'm going to go Just for One Day.
Okay.
So, for Best Actor in a Supporting Role in a Musical, Jack Malone for Operation Mincemeat, Cedric Neal for Guys and Dolls, David Faxton for Sunset Boulevard, and Jack Wolf for Next to Normal.
Don't make me choose. I can't choose. I don't want to choose. Don't make me choose. Oh, it's like choosing between my children, most of whom are older than me.
They all deserve this.
Yeah.
Like,
this
all
is
their
a great
performances,
category.
all four of them just could win this award. And
Thrilled with this
wouldn't
category.
be
10
surprised.
out of 10, no notes.
Yeah, literally.
I will say that David Thaxton was my favourite part of Sunset Boulevard.
Yep.
And the nuance of his performance was like nothing else. But I think what's actually going to be is a 2-horse race. And both of those horses are named Jack, but they spell it differently.
Jack Malone's song as Hester is the moment from Mincemeat that sticks with people.
It truly stops the show.
And fully would be deserving.
Yeah.
But I think I'm leaning towards Jack Wolf.
There's a lot of love for his performance, and rightfully so.
I'd be surprised if Next to Normal doesn't get anything at all for this award.
It's really hard. I think it's very, very close. I've spent the whole year thinking, Jack Malone really could.
Yeah.
Like, it's so close. It feels so close to me.
It does. It feels like a hair, like literally, like a hair.
Can we have a tie? Can we have a tie? If there's any category, this is the one I want to tie.
The thing is, any other year, I'd have said Cedric.
Oh yeah.
Because that role, like, I'm remembering Clive Rowe when
we could both be proven wrong.
It's such a scene stealing role.
Absolutely.
Sit Down, You're Rockin' the Boat is the song.
Yeah.
If you're talking about like if like with the Tony Awards we were talking about Alex Newell, just for like independently owned, just that song alone was Alex Newell's Tony. Like,
but I'd argue that's what Jack Malone does with
This Is the Thing.
Because I was thinking that's like that much of a show-stopping moment that people talk about afterwards.
It's interesting because you're putting those numbers against one another.
Yeah.
Jack Wolf, for me, it's like the nuance that he adds to Gabe and this like how does I say, malevolent force.
Yeah, no, you'd be right. You'd be very right.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Jack Malone. I'm going to say I think Jack Malone will take it.
Okay. I'm going to stick with Jack Wolf, I think.
I don't know if I was getting into too much of like a What's on Stage Awards mindset. I don't know. You start to think about it too much and you just lose all perspective on everything. I will jump up and down and cry regardless. Next up, we have Best Actor in a Supporting Role. Again, in a play.
Mm-hmm.
We have Will Close for Dear England, Paul Hilton for An Enemy of the People, Giles Terrera for Clydes, Luke Thompson for A Little Life, and Zubin Vala for A Little Life. And again, only seen one. Because we didn't see A Little Life, we didn't see Clydes, we didn't see An Enemy of the People. I think Will Close will win for Dear England.
I think it's between Will Close and Giles Terrera.
I mean, Luke Thompson won the What's on Stage.
Yes.
And Zubin Vala has won at the Olivier's before, and we've heard great things about him in Little Life.
But so has Giles Terrera.
So has Giles Terrera. So I think the only one I've actually heard in conversation, people are like, oh my gosh, he was incredible in that, was Zubin Vala for A Little Life. That's the only one I've actually heard separately in conversation. I think Will Close, on the basis of my whole sweeping theory that it's with the momentum of Dear England. And do you know what else is, I always think if there's a category where it doesn't necessarily go to the most prominent and most decorated and celebrated names, it's supporting in a play specifically.
And he was great in that role.
He was really good in it, and it was a
comedic heart that was a Liverpool comedic heart.
That, but then with this very genuine vulnerability, but like a repressed vulnerability. Oh my gosh,
it was really nuanced.
Yeah, so I'm going to lock in Will Close, Dear England. Best Supporting Actor in a Play, Man of the Match,
I will as well.
Most Valued Player.
I will as well.
Am I still in the right sport? Is this still football?
Best Actress in a Supporting Role in a Play, Lorraine Ashbourne for Till the Stars Come Down, Priyanka Burford for An Enemy of the People, Hayden Gwynn for When Winston Went to War with the Wireless, Gina McKee for Dear England, and Tanya Reynolds for A Mirror. I forget there's so many people because there's 5 play categories, get more people, so it
Plays
takes a bit longer.
5. And yet, can we take a moment for all of the supporting actresses who did not make it into this category, aka half the cast of The Hills of California, and Tuppence Middleton from The Motive in the Queue.
Yeah.
Who remains my should win, because she should have been nominated and she should win.
Yeah.
I have a prediction. What might happen, and would be very lovely if it did,
This
would
is
be
what I think.
a posthumous Olivier Award win for Hayden Gwynn, who has been nominated multiple times.
5 times.
In her career, who sadly passed away towards the end of 2023, but had never won.
No, has never won. 5 nominations, has never won, and I could see this being it's a win that's not just for the performance, but is like honouring the legacy of.
That's my expectation.
That is exactly what I was thinking before we started this, was that category, there will be like a gut reaction just to seeing her name.
Next, we have the Blue Eye Theatre Technology Award for Best Set Design. Miriam Buther for Set Design and 59 Productions for Video Design for Stranger Things The First Shadow. Bunny Christie for Set Design for Guys and Dolls. Ez Devlin for Set Design and Ash J. Woodward for Video Design for Dear England. Sutra Gilmore for Set Design and Nathan Amsey and Joe Ransom for Video Design for Sunset Boulevard. Now, the elephant in the room here is video design.
Yes.
The 3 out of 4 of these nominees are jointly nominated for set and video design elements, which changes things.
It does, because I feel like it then becomes, you're not just thinking about like the set design and the physical elements, you're also thinking about everything that happens with the video design.
We're going to divide again, I can feel it.
The show that I'm going to say has video design in it.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to go Guys and Dolls.
No, because I think that Guys and Dolls will get production to honour the set design.
Okay.
But I feel like that it's going to go to Stranger Things.
Oh.
I think if we're talking in spectacle and we're thinking that Stranger Things will mop up numerous awards, I think Stranger Things will get set design because of everything that they do with set design, including the video design with the doubles and everything. But I kind of feel like there's a lot of tech that will go to Stranger Things, similar to how My Neighbor Totoro went through all the technical side.
Yeah.
Like, if these were in separate categories and it was set design for a musical and set design for a play, I think it would be Sunset Boulevard and Stranger Things separately.
Yeah.
I think with Guys and Dolls, the weird thing with set design is that Bunny Christie has done all of the immersive sets for every production of The Bridge. So much of it, she's already kind of won for her creativity that she's done with that theatre.
Yeah. You are very good at persuading me away from my convictions
If
today.
it was just video design, I just said Sunset Boulevard, but...
Well, there is this Stranger Things and I don't know if I considered that it would get as many wins as you are predicting that it will. I am still leaning Sunset Boulevard because the video and how they used the video was this huge talking point, and the fact that that's included is really persuasive. But I do also wonder if people are going to roll their eyes or raise their eyebrows a little bit at the concept of Sunset Boulevard set design, because the big thing was there's not really a set, it's the screen. You've got me confused now. I think I'm still going to say Sunset Boulevard. I just feel like it has that cabaret energy. I really do. I think Sunset Boulevard is that girl this year.
I still think it's going to be...
You can say that.
Going to be strange.
Have we ever disagreed on our predictions as much as we are today?
I know.
Wow. We started in such accordance. Make sure you're subscribed for this post-Olivier Awards recap video, because there are scores to settle at this point. Next, we have the White Light Award for Best Lighting Design. John Clark for Dear England, John Clark for Stranger Things The First Shadow, Paulie Constable for Guys and Dolls, and Jack Knowles for Sunset Boulevard. Are we repeating what we thought in the last one?
I don't know with this one, because I think that Sunset Boulevard relies so much on lighting design because it doesn't have much set.
I'm saying Sunset Boulevard.
I think with this one I'd go for Sunset Boulevard because the lighting is the star.
Yeah.
Because there's like how they do so much with such a bare stage.
Yeah.
apart from that,
the backlighting moments,
yeah,
the
I feel like
moments,
I feel like
the red lighting moments.
the star of that production was the lighting design.
Yeah.
The video on the screen, but like the video wouldn't be anywhere near what it was without such good lighting design.
Yeah. But I'm also wondering if, had I seen this coming, I would have changed my answer to the set design one. I've said it now. It's too late. I've locked it in. But I'm saying Jack Knowles, Sunset Boulevard, best lighting design, win.
Same.
Have I put too many of my eggs in a Sunset Boulevardy basket?
I spread out quite nicely in this one.
I like Boulevardy as a word. Boulevardy versus Rooney. Boulevardy versus Rooney is the name of this year's Olivier Awards, and it's about whether Sunset or Dear England is going to take more.
Best actress in a supporting role in a musical.
Oh,
It's between Grace Hodgett-Young for Sunset Boulevard, Zoe Roberts for Operation Mincemeat, Amy Trigg for The Little Big Things, and Eleanor Worthington Cox for Next to Normal.
this is an exciting category to me because I truly think this could go in any direction.
Yes.
This could absolutely fall anywhere. I don't think anyone has any more momentum than anyone else.
Nope.
This is going to be a real guess as to who might take it. If you're going to ask me, personally, who I would vote for, it might be Eleanor Worthington Cox, I think. But then the depth that she had compared with everyone else was far greater.
Yeah.
Like Natalie in Next to Normal versus Zoe's track in Mincemeat versus Betty in Sunset Boulevard, which I think is a truly thankless role that Grace did fantastic things with, versus Agnes, who lovely in Little Big Things, but sort of just like provides this one function to the narrative. She has much more meat to work with. But who do we think will actually win?
If you said really quickly, who do you think is going to win?
You want to do a 3, 2, 1?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Amy Trigg.
Because everybody talks about Amy Trigg. When that show opened, the name that everybody who saw it said straight after was Amy Trigg. And Amy Trigg Olivier's.
Yes.
And she has this, if we're talking about somebody that has a moment where the whole audience is just fully supporting this person, it's Amy Trigg.
It's a great supporting turn.
Yeah.
And the only member of the Little Big Things cast to have been nominated at this year's Olivier's, so sort of is flying the flag for them. And so if anyone is wanting to vote for that show, then Amy becomes the ambassador of that affection for the Little Big Things. Locked in. Why do I do a tick? Locked. There you go. Was that my shoulder? Watch me go to the Olivier's in a sling. Because
That's your shoulder or your elbow.
Is that my bones?
Something just went pop.
I drink so much milk. This isn't fair. Next we have the Sir Peter Hall Award for Best Director. Stephen Daldry and Justin Martin for Stranger Things: The First Shadow. Rupert Gold for Dear England. Jamie Lloyd for Sunset Boulevard. And Sam Mendes for The Motive and The Queue. Again, we could talk about the directors surprisingly absent from this category because we've been talking a lot about Guys and Dolls and about all of its achievements, and chiefly among those, while the set, what you were saying about the set was like it is similar to the other immersive sets at the Bridge. The special thing is how it's utilised.
Yeah.
And that's the direction by Nicholas Heitner. And it's kind of astonishing to me that he wasn't nominated.
Yeah. For me, this is a 2-horse race.
And those horses are Jamie Lloyd and Rupert Gold.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's Boulevardy versus Rooney.
I'm really split between who I actually think will win.
I keep tossing it around in my head.
I think in my head this is down. In my head, I'm thinking if Rupert is winning, that means that Dear England must be winning play. So I'd have to already be saying I think Dear England's winning best play.
But you didn't say Sunset Boulevard was going to win best revival.
No, because I think people with Sunset Boulevard, people have specifically been saying Jamie Lloyd's direction.
Do you think it separates?
I think it separates. I think people talk about his direction and what he was doing.
Yeah, it would be something of a coup if he did win, because
a musical beating.
And it's the only musical in
Yeah.
that category with 2 plays and 1 comedy/entertainment in Stranger Things: The First Shadow. It's a play, but do you know, in any other category, in any other award ceremony, I'd be like, obviously Jamie Lloyd's going to take it because everyone's been talking about it, because it's been Jamie Lloyd, Sunset Boulevard, all that. It's just because musicals are so maligned in the
I think this is my.
I have a hard
here.
time seeing a musical director winning over play directors, but I'm gonna stick my neck out and say, if ever there was a year it could happen, Jamie Lloyd, Sunset Boulevard, I think he will take it.
I will join you.
There we go.
I will join you on that one. The D&B Audio Technica Award for Best Sound Design is between Paul Arditi for Stranger Things for First Shadow, Dan Balfour and Tom Gibbons for Dear England, Adam Fisher for Sunset Boulevard, and Gareth Fry for The Scottish Play.
You can say it, I believe in you. It's Macbeth, everybody. Do you know who I'm going to predict?
Adam Fisher.
Sunset Boulevard. I do think so. Because, and again, just in terms of like demonstrable work, you had someone leave the building and sing in conjunction with a live orchestra, give you live vocals
I'll go
around the perimeter of the Savoy Theatre, come back in, and it all worked nightly. That alone does it. In that moment, Olivia, like, engrave it. There and then. Doesn't matter. That's it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's as Joanna Woodward said when in presenting that very same award at the Watson Stage Awards. She said sound design is so important because without sound design, Tom Francis would have just been a strange man singing to himself on the street.
Yeah.
I'm going with Adam Fisher for Sunset Boulevard.
I agree. So, Best Actress.
In a play.
Nominees are Laura Donnelly for The Hills of California, Sophia Canedo for Medea, Sarah Jessica Parker for Plaza Suite, Sheridan Smith for Shelley Valentine, and Sarah Snook for The Picture of Dorian Gray.
This is another tricky one because Sheridan Smith and Sarah Snook are both doing these Herculean feats.
Yeah, solo performances.
Yeah, Sheridan Smith doing this whole 2-act Shelley Valentine, heck of a long amount of solo play work, and Sarah Snook doing all of these technical feats on stage while also doing a one-person show.
On stage, off stage, replying to themselves, using a Facetune app.
Face-tuning a picture of themselves live.
And filming themselves, because they literally were doing...
And filming
like
themselves.
doing the camera...
I mean, it's hard, but then Laura Donnelly has a really showy role.
Yeah, it was like classic.
A gift of a role written by her husband, Jez Butterworth, I will say.
And we didn't see Sarah Jessica Parker or Sophia Canedo.
Didn't see either of those two. I'm tempted to say Laura Donnelly. I think it's just the more classic, like, great role in an ensemble piece.
I'm either there or I'm Sarah Snook.
I think I just felt too removed from it because of all of the artifice that was going on. And Laura Donnelly... it was just a sensational
It was
performance minus the bells and whistles.
I think this is like in my head where it's like a should they, what will, and I think should for me would be Laura Donnelly, but I think will be Sarah Snook.
I think Laura Donnelly is my should and will. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm going with.
Yep, I'm going to stick with
The Hills of California. Next up, Best Actor in a Play. Joseph Fiennes for Dear England, Mark Gatiss, The Motive and the Cue, James Norton, A Little Life, Andrew Scott, Vanya, or David Tennant for Macbeth.
This is like a should, will,
and they're heavyweights.
Well,
they are
names.
all heavyweights, but there are names aplenty here. Like, names can't begin to come into it because they're all names.
Because, like, I don't know, personally looking at them, I'd be like, oh, Mark Gatiss. It just feels like one of those performances that everybody's going to talk about for decades to come.
That might be my should. I think that's just in terms of just like the subtle beauty and humanity of it,
and bring into life somebody that existed, and how do you bring all of those mannerisms, but don't make it feel like a caricature of.
And that's often good awards bait. Is actually we see it more often with like the music biopics,
and it's a theatrical legend as well. Everybody in the theatrical industry will have some awareness of,
yes,
and maybe links to, etc. And to do that and it be acclaimed, such
I agree.
a feat.
I agree with all of the above, but I don't think
he'll win.
Oh, because we think who will win? 3, 2, 1. Joseph Fiennes. Who are you going to say?
You completely said who I was not thinking. I'm stuck between it being James Norton or Andrew Scott.
I think Joseph Fiennes. I think, again, it's a subtler performance, but it's also, and it's not from the theatrical sphere, but it's still playing a real person and, having to portray those mannerisms and that personality of a well-known figure, this being Gareth Southgate.
If I've said that Vanya's going to get a revival, I think James Norton will. I'm being very democratic, but actually
it's conditional.
But actually, it's kind of where my brain's going. Is like if
one award is going to get allocated on the night, and you're going to change everything else. You're going to be like, well, that didn't happen, so that's going to go to this.
It literally will happen in my brain. I'll be like, oh, so they went for that. So this means that one probably will go this way.
Yeah. Depends if they're voting with the same mindset you are, and they're like, well, I'll give this to this one to recognise this, and I'll give this to this, or if they're just like, Vanya was great, so Revival and Andrew Scott.
It's very tricky because if we're looking at the other awards, Tennant, Scott, and Norton have all won. So I can't. It's not even
Maybe
like
I've made a foolish prediction.
It's not even like I can look at one of those and go, oh well, that's what happened. I'm like, they've all won.
I am beginning to feel that throughout this I've just been backing the big horses. I mean, so often that's have I become jaded in my years of Olivier Awards punditry? Is that what's happened here? I don't know. Hopefully they prove me wrong and a bunch of different productions win for different things. I just, we don't often see that.
So the Londoner Award for Best New Play,
as in the hotel.
yeah,
Oh, I love that for them.
it's between Dear England by James Graham, The Hills of California by Jez Butterworth, The Motive in the Queue by Jack Thorne, and Till the Stars Come Down by Beth Steele.
And it is going to be 3, 2, 1.
Dear England.
There we go. And I think that is correct.
Yeah.
Much as I personally, and I mean, I enjoyed all the ones I saw. I really liked The Hills of California, The Motive in the Queue, one of my favourite things I've seen on stage, but very applicable to my interests, and obviously fairly like navel-gazy from a theatrical perspective, because it's a play for theatre people, by theatre people, about theatre people.
And we've only heard good things about Till the Stars Come Down.
I only heard good things about it, but I think Dear England, rightfully so, getting the recognition for, again, moving the medium forwards.
The amount of people that... You had this interesting intersection where it was like football fans who would never go and see a play went to see it and connected with it and just felt everything. And then at the same time, you had a lot of theatrical types that do not like football, have no association with football or knowledge of it, going in and then coming out being like, oh my gosh, how did a show about kicking footballs into a net move me so much?
And then all took to social media to be like, just so you all know, I know nothing about football, but I loved this play. If this is, SALT members voting and producers, this brought a lot of new people into the theatre, and that's going to count for a lot.
I feel like it feels...
It's an open goal for Dear England, shall we say.
Oh,
that was a football play.
Yeah.
Was that good? It was good.
Well done.
Next up, the MasterCard Award for Best New Musical. The Little Big Things, with music by Nick Butcher, lyrics by Nick Butcher and Tom Ling, and a book by Joe White. Next to Normal, with music by Tom Kitt and book and lyrics by Brian Yorkie. Operation Mincemeat, with music, lyrics and book by David Cumming, Felix Hagen, Natasha Hodgson and Zoe Roberts. And A Strange Loop, with music, lyrics and book by Michael R. Jackson.
The reason we like to make sure that everybody's named there, and I'm glad that they put all the book writers there as well, is because they don't have categories for score or book.
Yeah, we don't have best score, we don't have best book of a musical, it's all in best new musical.
So they've all got nominated, but
which is obviously not ideal because the best book and the best score aren't often found in the best new musical. And I think for this one specifically as well...
It's like, kind of, does best musical mean best musical production, or is it best new musical for writing? It's the same thing with best new play.
Yeah.
You do kind of go, is this a production, or is it...
about the text.
Or is it the text and that?
And if I'm being honest, and separating from, like, my faves, and the ones I really want to see on that stage picking up a trophy, because we'll get to that, I do think that A Strange Loop ought to win here in terms of recognition of, again, moving musical theatre forward. I think A Strange Loop and the work Michael R. Jackson did on that is...
There's a reason why it won the Pulitzer.
Exactly. And Next to Normal...
Also a Pulitzer.
Also won the Pulitzer, but didn't win the Tony. And I just think A Strange Loop has to be my should. It's a masterpiece.
It is.
I think. But I don't think it will. I think it's a race between Next to Normal and Operation Mincemeat.
I've kind of felt like for most of the year, and I think even now, thinking about it, it just feels like it's Operation Mincemeat's to lose.
I think it is Operation Mincemeat's to lose, and we've been saying all year, do we dare to dream, and everything else has been opening, and so Just for One Day opened, and we were like, is this the one that's going to change things? Or Little Big Things was opening, we were like, is this the one that might take it away from Mincemeat? Because Mincemeat opened so long ago. When we talk about, especially with the Tonys, shows wanting to open in that month before eligibility ends, that's happening right now in New York. There are like 24 shows opening in the next 3 weeks. Operation Mincemeat began previews a year ago. A year ago, and has had to keep up that momentum.
Keep things happening, keep moments happening for people to be aware of it.
I think it is going to be this little show that started at the New Diorama, that went to Southwark Playhouse multiple times, that went to Riverside Studios, that came from the Fringe, and I think this is going to be the end of its success story. I really do. There we go. Well, we were in accordance for much of the beginning, and then, you know, we parted in the middle, but, you know, like a beautiful love story, we came back together again.
Aww.
Okay, so I think we agreed on 14 and we disagreed on 6.
Yeah.
Those 6 will be the ones that determine who wins or loses on Sunday. It doesn't matter who wins the Oliviers. This is the real competition you need to care about right here. Make sure you're subscribed because, I mean, we'll be filming it in the late hours of Sunday evening. It will be uploaded hopefully on Monday, but we're also getting on a plane to New York on Monday.
Yep.
So lots is going to be going on. Lots will be happening. But there will be an Olivier Awards recap. I'll do a little bit of vlogging from the ceremony, but you can't film inside the Royal Albert Hall, and I'm not like on the green carpet or anything, so it's just going to be like nice vibey coverage from afar, but I will do my best to bring you some sense of what the Olivier Awards are like this year, and of course what Aaron and I are wearing, and similarly to last year, probably the McDonald's that we'll be eating at like
When we get back.
midnight afterwards. So you have all that to look forward to. In the meantime, I would love to know all of your predictions for all of the Olivier Awards winners. Let us know in the comment section down below. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with Aaron? Are you forging your own brave path? Comment down below with your thoughts and your predictions. Thank you so much for watching this video. We both hope that you have enjoyed, and we hope that everyone is staying safe and that you have
a stagey day.
For 10 more seconds, I'm Mickey Joe Theatre. Oh my god, hey. Thanks for watching, have a stagey day. Subscribe!